The desert knows how to guard secrets, how to hide the whispers beneath the golden dunes and bury every heartbeat under the weight of centuries. Yet even in this sacred silence, a voice broke free. A name was carried not by fate, but by betrayal. My beloved, I had vowed to shield your identity like a treasured verse, tucked gently within the folds of my poetry. But someone among the trusted, tore open the fabric of our privacy and let the world taste the fragrance of your name before your hands even wore the crown. She wasn't just a woman, she was a hidden moon, a secret that breathed life into my weary soul. The announcement of our union was never meant to be stolen like this. I had dreamed of revealing her to the world in a moment of grace and poetry, perhaps beneath the moonlit skyline of Dubai, when her eyes could speak for themselves and her name could echo as a blessing. But instead, it was whispered too soon, not by my heart, but by lips I never granted permission. This wasn't just a leak, it was a robbery of our sacred silence. I watched her eyes tremble with the weight of sudden fame, with strangers calling her by a name that once only danced through my poems. How could they understand that this wasn't just a headline, it was my haven, my life's turning point? They turned our story into a storm of curiosity, where love was reduced to gossip and grace to exposure. She is the rose I watered with patience, the soul I watched bloom through seasons of doubt and distance. Every time I wrote a verse, I wrote her spirit into it. Every time I smiled in silence, it was her memory dancing through my chest. Her name was not meant to trend, it was meant to be protected until the moment the world was worthy of knowing it. But now, like a delicate scroll unrolled without permission, it lies bare before eyes that were never meant to see. To the one who whispered what was sacred, you may never understand the damage done. You didn't just expose a name, you unwrapped a dream before it was fully formed. You betrayed the trust of a man who guards his private world like a falcon guards the wind. In this palace of loyalty and lineage, your voice has now become the echo of broken trust. I wonder, did you do it for applause or for amusement? She stood before me with grace even in the midst of chaos. Hamdan, she said, I do not care what the world says. I care only for the truth in your eyes. And in that moment, I realized, though her name had been spilled, our bond remained unshaken. The world may know her now, but it will never know the warmth of her whispered prayers, the gentleness of her midnight silence, or the way she turns her face to the wind when she misses me. I wanted to keep her identity a secret not out of shame, but out of reverence. In a world of flashing cameras and endless rumors, I had hoped to offer her peace. A love that is real often blooms best in silence. But now, the silence has been broken. So I choose to speak, not in anger, but in poetry. Let the world know, yes, she is my wife. She is my muse, my confidant, the keeper of every breath I inhale when I miss the softness of her touch. And to my people who love me, know this. This love was not rushed, not forced, not fabricated. It was woven in sacred stillness, built on mutual strength, laughter, and sincerity. Whether or not the name reached you before its time, what matters now is the truth that binds us. She did not ask to be royal, she simply loved a man who happened to wear a crown. I see the headlines trying to define her, trying to sketch a portrait of someone they have never met. But what they don't realize is that she is not a figure to be described, she is a feeling, a flame, a hidden verse in the poetry of my destiny. No biography can capture her, no gossip can measure her worth. She is mine, not by command, but by the free choice of two hearts that aligned in divine timing. Tonight, I will write a new poem. Not to respond to the world, but to comfort the soul that now faces its glare. I will write about her smile, the way it feels like the sunrise over the dunes. I will write about her laughter, how it echoes like prayer through the halls of my solitude. And I will remind her that no leak, no voice, no betrayal can stain the purity of what we share. To those who listened and believed the rumors, know that love is not always what it seems. And to those who respect what is sacred, I thank you. My queen walks beside me not in the shadow of gossip, but in the full light of destiny. Her name is now known, but her soul remains untouched by the noise. And as long as I breathe, I will protect the essence of her love with every word I write. So yes, her name may have reached your ears before I wished it to. But what you still don't know, and perhaps never will, is the way she whispered it to me the first time, not as a title, not as a possession, but as a poem that finally found its voice in my heart. She sat beside me this morning, her eyes calm but wounded, her hands resting on her lap like delicate petals braving a storm. I took her hand and kissed it with the weight of every regret I could not speak aloud. How do you comfort a heart that was ambushed by fame before it was ready? How do you tell the woman you love that her quiet world will never be the same, not because of a mistake she made, but because someone else couldn't keep their silence? I looked into her eyes and said, "You are still my poem, my secret melody. The world may know your name, but only I know your soul." She smiled, not out of joy, but out of strength. That is the woman I married. A soul that doesn't waver when the storm changes course. A heart that loves not for the lights or the luxury, but for the language of truth. She came into my world not asking for thrones or titles, but for trust. And I gave it to her with my whole being. Yet the world, eager to unravel what was sacred, stole the moment from us like a thief in daylight. But they did not steal our essence. That remains untouched. I want to speak now to her name, the name that fluttered from my lips in private moments, in prayers, in verses I never shared. It was never just syllables. It was the rhythm of my healing, the sound of destiny softly knocking at my door. That name, now echoed by strangers, still belongs to me in ways no voice can imitate. They can say it, they can write it, but they will never feel what I feel when I breathe it during Fajr prayers or whisper it while walking. And yes, I am angry. Not for myself, but for her. For the trust that was shattered. For the innocence that was traded for whispers. For the grace that should have unfolded slowly like a dawn, but was instead yanked into the harsh midday sun. There is a sacredness in unveiling love, in letting it blossom at its own pace. But they didn't give us that. They turned our story into a spectacle. And yet, in the heart of this chaos, she remains my calm. Tonight, I walked with her through the palace garden. The world outside burned with questions, but within those gates, we found silence again. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, even if they knew everything, they still wouldn't understand us, and I knew she was right. Because real love is not for explanation, it is for experience. It is for two souls who look at each other and simply know, this is what forever feels like. I remember when I first wrote about her without writing her name. The way my pen trembled with restraint, the way my heart surged with a fire I couldn't contain. Every word was a veil. Every line a coded message. And now that the world knows, I feel both relieved and robbed. Relieved that I no longer have to hide the joy. Robbed of the beauty of revealing her on our own terms. But even now, we are reclaiming the narrative, one poem at a time. To the one who leaked her name, you didn't just reveal a detail. You tore a chapter from our story before we finished writing it. And to the ones who devoured it with curiosity, I understand your fascination. But know this, love is not a headline. It is not a name to trend. It is a living, breathing soul that deserves tenderness and timing. And what you consumed without permission was meant to be sacred. Now that her name is known, I will not shy away. I will honor her even louder. I will write about her courage, her softness, her fire. Let the world watch, not because she is mine, but because she is a queen in her own right. The throne does not define her. She defines the throne. And if the world insists on knowing her, then let them know her through the eyes of the man who cherishes her endlessly. She is not just my wife. She is the woman who held me when I could no longer pretend to be strong. She is the melody behind every silence I endured. She is the first voice I want to hear at dawn and the last breath I need at dusk. They may know her name now, but they will never know the depth of what she means to me. That part, that sacred part, belongs to us and us alone. I promise her now, as I have always done in the quietest corners of my heart, I will protect her, not just with walls and guards, but with truth and devotion. The world may circle around us like vultures over gold, but they will never extract what truly matters. Her essence is not in her name, it's in the way she loves, lives, and breathes. And I am the fortunate one who calls her home. So let them say her name. Let them write it in lights and carve it into rumors. But what they don't have, and never will, is the poetry we write in silence. The look we share across a crowded room. The laughter that only we understand. The way she still calls me by my real name when no one is listening. That sacred magic, cannot be leaked. The muse of my hidden verses, I say this, they may know your name now, but I knew your soul before anyone else. I loved you before they heard you existed. I chose you when no one else knew I was choosing. And now, even in this chaotic unveiling, I choose you again, publicly, proudly, and forever. Every now and then, someone new tries to reach me, to understand me, to hold my heart in their hands. And I try, I really do. I smile, I laugh, I let them in. But there's always a ceiling they can't break through, a place inside me where your fingerprints still remain. It's not fair to them, I know. But love doesn't follow rules, and the heart doesn't operate on logic. It remembers who made it beat in symphonies. And that rhythm was always yours. I'm still learning how to live with this quiet love. It's no longer desperate or aching. It has settled into my bones, into the quiet moments when I least expect it. Like a song that plays softly in the background of my day, you're always there. And in a strange way, I've grown to find comfort in that. To love someone even when they're no longer by your side is one of the most courageous things a heart can do. And mine, somehow, continues to choose